Ambassador Zethkar's crystalline appendages clicked nervously against the polished obsidian table as he reviewed the documents one final time. The human across from him, Director Sarah Chen of Earth's Diplomatic Corps, sat motionless, her dark eyes reflecting none of the anxiety that rippled through the Galactic Council representatives' bioluminescent patches. "These terms are unprecedented," Zethkar finally managed, his translator struggling with the emotional undertones of his native clicking language. "No species in the history of the Galactic Collective has ever—" "Refused your demands," Chen interrupted, her voice carrying the same calm authority that had made her famous across 7 star systems. Perhaps that's the problem. The conference room aboard Station Unity, humanity's primary diplomatic outpost, felt smaller than its actual dimensions. Suggested. Through the massive viewport, Earth hung like a blue-white jewel against the star field, deceptively peaceful. Zethkar's gaze drifted to it involuntarily. Such a small world to cause such monumental disruption. It had started simply enough. The Galactic Collective, a coalition of 47 spacefaring species, had welcomed humanity with the standard integration protocols 40 years ago. Earth's resources, strategic position, and surprisingly adaptable population made them valuable additions to the cosmic community. The usual tribute systems were implemented: raw materials, technological sharing, cultural exchanges, and the contribution of human soldiers to the collective's peacekeeping forces. For decades, humanity had complied. They'd stripped their asteroid belts bare, shared their innovations freely, and sent their young to die in conflicts that had nothing to do with Earth's interests. The collective had grown comfortable with human compliance, gradually increasing their demands as humanity proved itself useful and malleable. "The mathematics are straightforward," Zethkar pressed, activating a holographic display that filled the space between them with scrolling figures. "Your species has demonstrated exceptional aptitude for what you call logistics. The recent periphery wars would have dragged on for decades without human organizational capabilities. Surely you understand the necessity of demanding 70% of our military-age population for the next conflict?" Chen's eyebrow arched slightly. "Along with complete access to our manufacturing capabilities, our agricultural output, and the permanent stationing of collective oversight committees on every major world we inhabit." The Zephyrian diplomat's patches flashed an uncomfortable yellow. "The Vrex Consortium threat requires unprecedented unity. Every species must contribute according to their capabilities. Humans have proven uniquely gifted at warfare and—" "Stop!" Chen's single word carried such finality that Zethkar's translator actually paused before processing it. "Let me tell you what humans are uniquely gifted at, Ambassador." She stood, moving to the viewport with fluid grace that reminded Zethkar uncomfortably of the human soldiers he'd observed in combat. Predators, every one of them, even the diplomats. "We're gifted at adaptation," Chen continued, her reflection ghost-like against the starfield. "When you asked for our asteroid metals, we built better recycling systems. When you demanded our technological innovations, we learned to innovate faster. When you required our soldiers, we became the finest warriors in the galaxy." She turned, back to face him. "But there's one gift we possess that your collective seems to have forgotten. Which is, we're gifted at saying no." The words hung in the air like a physical presence. Zethkar's patches cycled through confusion, disbelief, and something approaching panic. "You cannot simply refuse the collective's mandate," he sputtered. "The economic integration alone, your trade routes, your colonial supplies, your technological dependencies were carefully planned for, yes. Chen returned to her seat, sliding a data pad across the table. We've been preparing for this conversation for quite some time. Zethkar's appendages trembled as he accessed the device. Page after page of economic projections, resource allocations, and strategic analyses filled his vision. Humanity hadn't just been complying with collective demands, they'd been quietly building complete self-sufficiency. Their colonies were no longer dependent on collective trade routes. Their technology had evolved beyond simple adaptation of alien innovations into something uniquely human. Their military, rather than being depleted by constant deployment, had been forged into something that made Zethkar's digestive chambers clench with primal fear. "This is impossible," he whispered. "The integration protocols, the economic dependencies we established, were observed and adapted to," Chen said simply. "We learned your systems, Ambassador. We learned them very well, and then we learned to live without them. But the Vrex threat will be handled by the collective, as it always has been." Chen's smile held no warmth. "Though I suspect you'll find the next war considerably more challenging without human logistics, human innovation, and human soldiers cleaning up your strategic disasters." Zethkar's patches had faded to a sickly gray. "You would abandon the galaxy to invasion?" "We would abandon a galaxy that sees us only as a resource to be exploited." Chen stood again, this time moving toward the door. The collective had 40 years to treat humanity as partners rather than subjects. You chose differently. "Wait!" Zethkar's cry was more plea than command. "Surely we can negotiate." "We tried negotiation for 4 decades, Chen replied without turning. "You responded with ever-increasing demands. So now you get something humanity is particularly skilled at providing." "Which is?" Chen paused at the doorway, her reflection in the polished surface showing a smile that would have looked perfectly at home on a shark. "Consequences." The door sealed behind her with a soft hiss, leaving Zethkar alone with the reality of what had just occurred. Through the viewport, Earth continued its ancient rotation, beautiful and serene. But now, for the first time in galactic collective history, it was also completely untouchable. Within hours, human colonies across the galaxy would activate defensive protocols that had been decades in the making. Trade agreements would be terminated, military support would cease, and the collective would learn what the universe looked like without humanity to solve their problems. As Zethkar's shuttle departed Station Unity, the last alien vessel that would be permitted in Earth's solar system for the foreseeable future, he couldn't shake the feeling that the collective had just learned a very expensive lesson about the difference between compliance and partnership. Humanity had been an exceptional servant. It remained to be seen what kind of enemy they would make.